Hi, Doug Lennick. I'm back, and we are into growth. We've gone through roots. We're going to growth. We're going to end up flying. We're going to do some wings, but let's do some growth. And let's start with mindset matters. And I'm going to answer a couple of questions again. How can I know what I'm thinking? Well, guess what? You've been practicing it, those of you that have been following along. That's the freeze game. The freeze game. Throughout the day, remember this, the brain. Practice makes permanent. Practice the freeze game multiple times every day. I use water as a trigger to remind me to practice the values reflection, but the freeze game is something I do throughout the day. I get little reminders even on my phone. But multiple times every day, ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? How can I know what I'm thinking? Ask yourself, what am I thinking? How am I feeling right now? Now, this is especially important for us guys. Guys think they're, a lot of guys, not all guys, hate to generalize, but the research suggests that men, less so than women, are in tune with how they are feeling. Men kind of think there's what are there, like 3 emotions, right? No, there's more. There's more. And so we might not know how we're feeling, and we could be clueless here again, but we are never emotionless. What am I thinking? Emotionally, how am I feeling? And what am I doing? Now, my thoughts are actually going to influence my behaviors and my emotions. Now, wonderfully, I get to decide what to think. So do you. I was listening to an Earl Nightingale, an old name. My dad was an Earl Nightingale fan. He said a couple of things that were interesting that caught my attention and I reflected on. One, he talked about what success is like. And this is all a mindset. It's progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Progressive realization of a worthy ideal. He went on to say something like, it's interesting that what our most valuable asset seems to be our frequently least used asset. And what is that? It's our mind. Our mind is our most valuable asset. And then when we posed the question, he wondered, do you suppose the reason we don't use it is because it's free? Is that why we don't value it? It's free? My dad taught me this, and I became a writer as a result of this. He said, Doug, writing is the mirror of your mind. If you want to know what you were thinking, read it. Read your thoughts. You assume you will remember. You will not. Your memory is faulty. But when you read it and it looks like your handwriting, you'll go, I actually was thinking that at that time. How can I change my mindset? We have a little tool. First of all, I begin to change my mindset by acceptance. Remember, one of my first mindsets is acceptance. Accept that my knowledge is limited. Accept that knowing is the enemy of learning. Accept that it is dangerous to declare I know. Because once I know, I shut myself off from learning. Knowing is the enemy of learning. Accept that. And then use these 4 R's. It's a tool. So when I want to change my mindset, I start off with the first R, which is recognizing what it is now. What am I thinking now? That's the freeze game. So I'm now recognizing. The second R, reflect. Reflect on what? Reflect on my values. Reflect on the big picture. Reflect on what my life is meant to be. reflect on the purpose. What kind of life do I want to have? And then reframe. You might notice that what you were thinking upon reflection could be enhanced. When we ask that fourth question, could I be thinking something different, something better? The answer turns out quite frequently to be, yeah, I could be. And so I'm going to reframe now. Now, I like to use philosophers to help me remember what things mean. One of my favorites is Winnie the Pooh. The reason I use Winnie, I also like Aristotle, but I've discovered in my 71 years, very few people read Aristotle. A lot of people read Winnie the Pooh. So I'll use Winnie. Winnie, once upon a time, some of you will remember this little episode in Winnie the Pooh. Winnie looked down, and he did not like the shirt that he had on. Look down, up, down, don't like my shirt, what to do. I think I'll change my mind so I don't have to change my shirt. That's reframing. I don't have to do what I always did because I said I would never change. And I've had to do a lot of reframing. A lot of the things that I used to think were true, I actually think they were true. Upon reflection and upon paying attention to what others see, I did some reframing. And then that fourth R. The fourth R is respond. I got to make a choice now. Sometimes my response is to do nothing, and sometimes my response is to do something. But in all cases, I challenge myself to make a response. What's a response? I decide what to think. I decide what to do in spite of how I'm feeling. So I respond with an appropriate thought, an appropriate action that helps me achieve my goal, consistent with my purpose and consistent with my values. When I'm doing that, I'm living in alignment. And I often say this, if somebody is in shape and their goal is to stay in shape, all they have to do is keep doing what they're doing. If someone is out of shape and wants to get in shape, they have to change what they're doing. And the brain does not welcome change. So when I wake up one day and I say, and I did this incidentally, I said to myself, Doug, it is time for you to lose weight and get in shape. That was my mind talking to my brain. My brain registered the message as an error. Error! Error! You forgot, Doug. The reason you're out of shape and overweight is you do not exercise. You don't like exercise. And you kind of like the diet you're on. That's why you eat it. Changing that is the hard part. But the mind has the authority to override the brain's desire to repeat behavior. That, by the way, is where some of the tools that you might use can come in. Tools like prayer, meditation. These kind of tools can work because they can help me stay the course. If you don't get anything out of this episode other than you get to decide what to think, and if you so choose to exercise your authority, it will change your life. It begins with the freeze game, connected to the values exercise, connected to you saying to yourself, this is my day to be the best I can be. Change your mindset.